Hello, my name is Natalie with Perfectly Spoken. This is the A2 level and this is lesson 7. And in this lesson we are going to talk about jobs and employment. Okay, so here is some information about the class. In this class we will look at how to answer the question, what do you do? Do you remember in lesson 1, all that time ago, that we looked at the question, what do you do? What do you do? Okay, so we're going to look a bit more in detail about how to answer that question. Okay, we'll look at vocabulary related to jobs and also the use of have to, don't have to, and must, mustn't, and the contrast between mustn't and don't have to. Okay, and we will do a little listening so you can listen, relax, understand, try to hear the vocabulary in context. Okay, right, so are you ready? Shall we begin? Do you have your notebook? Do you have your pen? Pen. I have pen here. I don't know where my notebook is. Ooh, very bad. Okay. So let's go. Now, first of all, the question, what do you do? This is one question, but we have two alternatives. What's your profession? Or what line of work are you in? What line of work are you in? That's another question. Not as frequent as what do you do, but it exists. Okay, it exists. So how do you answer this question? If I say, what do you do? Or what's your profession? In my case, I say, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. Okay, so let's look. Professions. I'm a teacher, or I'm an if the work begins with a vowel sound. For example, I'm an engineer. An engineer is for reasons of pronunciation that we use the indefinite article here with an N. An. Okay, in your language, do you use an indefinite article when you answer this question? Do you say I'm a teacher or do you say I'm teacher? Because I know that in Spanish we don't use the article, the indefinite article. We say I'm a teacher. And in your language, have a think. Do you use the article or not? Because in English, yes, you must use the indefinite article when you answer this question. Okay, so let's have a look at some examples here. So we've got, what do you do? I'm a cook, or I'm a chef. I'm a doctor, or I'm a GP. A GP, basically a GP means general practitioner. Okay, so it's the doctor that you go to see. You're like family doctor. So if you have like a sore throat, or if you feel a bit ill, or your children needs an injection, you go to see a GP. In British English, it's a GP, general practitioner. We will look at some other medical jobs in this lesson, but all of them know it's impossible because it's too much vocabulary. Okay, all right, so let's have a look. We've got I'm a I'm very sorry, this is a very stereotypical photograph of a scientist, so I apologize. Let me see if I can find a better one. That's better. That's much, much better. Okay, so we have this one and this one. So these are doctors as well, but they're a specific type of doctor. Okay, in this case, I'm a surgeon. Surgeon. Notice the pronunciation. It's kind of sound. Jun, jun. Surgeon. Okay, and then you've got scientist. A scientist. I think in this case they're biochemists, maybe. Don't know. Okay, so you've got surgeon and a scientist. I'm a surgeon, I'm a scientist. And here, notice you've got I'm an. The an is because these jobs begin with a vowel. So I'm an estate agent. An estate agent. The person that helps you look for an apartment or a flat or a house to buy or to rent. And here you've got an architect, an architect. Okay, and she's working very hard. Okay, and then we've got in this case, I'm a builder. Notice the pronunciation. Builder, not builder, no. Builder or construction worker, or I'm a photographer. You have to be careful with photographer because you say photograph, but photographer. Do you see the difference in the pronunciation? So you have to be, it's not photographer, no, photographer. I'm a photographer. Okay, and here, what jobs are these people doing? Here, I'm a nurse. Yeah, again, pronunciation very important. Nurse, it's that sound, nurse. And carpenter. Okay, very good. Now, some other professions. Teacher, obviously. We've got a plumber. Notice you don't pronounce the B. It's silent. Okay, so no B. It's plumber. What does a plumber do? Do you know? Yes, a plumber is the person that comes to your house when you have a problem with the pipes. So, for example, the pipes that carry water. So, for example, if you have a problem with your kitchen sink, if you have a problem with the toilet, if you have a problem with the bathroom, you phone a plumber. They're very, very important people, plumbers. Yes. And in Barcelona, plumbers earn a lot of money because we have a lot of problems with our pipes in Barcelona. I don't know why, but it is true. Okay, right, let's look at some more jobs. So we've got teacher, plumber, psychologist. Notice, again, pronunciation, psychologist. Lecturer. Do you know what a lecturer is? A lecturer is a teacher at a university. Okay, so sometimes I think maybe in American English it's like professor, but it's lecturer. Okay, then you've got sales executive, somebody who worked in sales, in selling, or a sales rep. Rep is a representative, so you put it down, sales rep. Journalist. What does a journalist do? A journalist writes for newspapers or for news channels, comments on current affairs, things that are going on in the news, in the world. Okay, so very, very important people, journalists, to help us know what is happening. Although, now with internet, sometimes you don't get information from the journalists. You get information from Twitter or Facebook, just information that comes, from other sources. But journalists are still very important people, okay, to comment. All right, other professions. Other professions have we got? Designer, writer, sometimes called a writer and sometimes an author. It's the same, writer, author, A-U-T-H-O-R. It's the same, writer, author. Artist, biologist. Look, you've got psychologist, biologist, physiotherapist, or physical therapist. Physical therapist in American English. So this is people who help you if you have a problem with your shoulder, or if you have a problem with your knee, your elbow, your joints. Basically, they will help you. Okay, and administrator. Okay, so the person that does all the paperwork, and, well, now it's less paper, more on the computer, but this person has to make sure everything is organized. A very important person in a company. And then we have a PA. Now, a PA is similar to a secretary, but I think now we don't use the word secretary very much. We tend to say PA. Now, PA stands for personal assistant. So it is basically, it's somebody that helps deal with administrative things and helps a manager organize their diary, their schedule, answers the phone, make sure everything is running well for the person they work for. Okay. All right, so we've looked at what do you do and answering the question with a specific profession. But look at this. Now, sometimes when people say, what do you do? It's actually difficult to answer with a specific profession. So, we have a very useful way of answering this question in English, okay? And probably in your language too, you have a similar way. So, for example, going back to our photo here, you have this man. I don't know what his job is. It's impossible to know just from looking at that photo. The profession isn't necessarily clear. So let's have a look at how else you can answer the question, what do you do? You could say, I work in IT. Do you remember what IT is? Yeah, information technology. So instead of answering with the whole, like your specific job, you talk more about the field, the area you work in. So what do you do? I work in IT, information technology. Or I work in advertising. Or I work in marketing. Or I work in education. I'm a teacher. I work in education. I work in construction. My mother works, notice the S at the end. My mother works in publishing. Some more examples. I work in language teaching. Maybe I'm not a teacher, but my work is related. Or maybe I have lots of different roles. So it's a very, very, very useful way to answer this question. I work in management of human resources. I work in agriculture. I work in the field of biochemistry. I work in pharmaceuticals. I work in tourism. I work in property. Property being buying and selling property. Okay, flats, houses, buildings, land. Okay, so this is a very, very, very useful way to answer a question without talking about a specific job title. Okay, so what do you do? How do you answer that question? Right, now we are at the section of the lesson where I talk and explain something, and you just relax and try and understand as much as you can, okay? Right, so just relax. I'm going to talk about my friend. My friend is called James. He is the same age as me because we met in university. We were at university together. So just listen while I talk about my friend James, okay? Yes, sorry, one moment. Okay. Okay. My friend James. Excuse me. James is a journalist, but he doesn't cover current affairs like news. He is a travel writer. He works mostly with travel guides. He has to travel a lot. He doesn't have to work in an office 9 to 5. His timetable is very varied. For example, he sometimes goes away for 3 or 4 weeks, and then he has to go back home and then write for 2 weeks, and then he can have a long holiday. It depends. He likes his job, and of course he loves traveling. Okay, so how's that? Did you understand? Let's have a look at the text now. Okay, all right, so I'll read it again so that you can read and listen at the same time. My friend James. James is a journalist, but he doesn't cover current affairs like the news. He is a travel writer. He works mostly with travel guides. He has to travel a lot. He doesn't have to work in an office 9 to 5. His timetable is very varied. For example, he sometimes goes away for 3 or 4 weeks, and then he has to go back home and write for 2 weeks, and then he can have a long holiday. It depends. He likes his job, and of course, he loves traveling. Okay, if you are watching this as a recording, you can pause the video and try reading the text out loud. Okay, try reading it and really concentrate on your pronunciation. All right. Now I'm going to look at some of the language from the text. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the language. Right, so we've got, he's a journalist. That's his job. He's a journalist. You can also say he's a writer, because he's a travel writer. And he has to travel a lot. But he doesn't have to work in an office 9 to 5. Now let's have a little look at the meaning of these two sentences. So we've got obligation. He has to. It's two words. Has to plus the infinitive. He has to travel a lot. That is his obligation for his job. Okay, and then you've got no obligation. He doesn't have to work 9 to 5. His work hours are flexible. They're flexible. In fact, they're varied. That means they vary, means they're different. Okay, so you've got obligation, has to, travel a lot, and then no obligation. He doesn't have to work from 9 to 5. He can, if he wants, but it's not an obligation. Okay, there is no obligation for him to do that. Okay, so he has to travel a lot. So the grammar is has to, have or has to. In this case it's has, because it's third person, plus infinitive. Okay, and then you've got no obligation. So here we use the auxiliary verb. Yes, to make it negative, remember, of course, he doesn't have to work from 9 to 5. Okay, so we quite often use this construction when we're talking about our obligations. So, for example, for me as a teacher, I have to arrive on time so that I can teach my students. I can't be late. It's not a good idea to be late. No. The students, well, that depends. But the teacher must arrive on time. The teacher has to arrive on time. Okay. So let's have a look at some more. Right. So I was talking about teacher. Let's have a look at some examples, look at the sentences, and decide if they are true or false for a teacher. Okay? So a teacher has to wear a uniform like a black top and a blue trousers. Same? No? No, it's not true. A teacher doesn't have to wear a uniform. Or not usually, anyway. Maybe occasionally, but in my case, no. A teacher doesn't have to wear a uniform. It's not obligatory. A teacher has to arrive on time. Yes, the teacher has to arrive on time. Okay, a teacher doesn't have to know maths. A teacher doesn't have to know maths. So it's not necessary for the teacher to know maths. Well, that depends. That depends on what subject the teacher is teaching. So, for example, me, if I don't know maths, it doesn't matter. But a physics teacher has to know maths. A science teacher has to know maths. Notice in British English we say maths, and in American English they say math. Okay, but it's the same. So yeah, really, the answer to this question depends on what kind of teacher you are, obviously. Okay, so it depends. All right, now we're going to look at must, mustn't. So here are some examples. For example, a psychologist must be patient. Patient, like patient. A carpenter mustn't drink alcohol when working. Yeah, this is true because carpenters have a machinery. They have things they operate, and if you've been drinking alcohol, maybe you cut off your hand. It's not a good idea. Okay, a language teacher must pronounce words clearly. Yes, yes, it's important. And a builder must wear a helmet. Helmet is, you put it on your head, boop, 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 to protect the head. Okay, so yes, they must wear a helmet. Do builders in your country wear helmets? Think about the answer to that question. A computer program, oh sorry, there's a mistake here. A computer programmer, is missing the R, computer programmer must think logically. Right, one moment, I'm going to see if I can fix this. Can I? Let me see. Oh, I don't think I can. All right. Okay. So yes, we were talking about these. So you've got different ways of talking about obligation. I'm going to see. Go back down here. One moment, please. This is the problem with technology. When it works, it's fantastic. When it doesn't work, okay. So it's going to go through. See, a teacher must know how to use technology. It's very important. When I started teaching a long time ago, it was very easy because there were no computers. It was basically a pen and a board, and that's it. So now it's very different. Very different. Okay. So, right. So we have, okay. There we are. We're back. So, a psychologist must be patient. Yes. A carpenter mustn't drink alcohol when working. That's true. A language teacher must pronounce words clearly. A builder must wear a helmet to protect the head. And a computer programmer, don't forget the R, must think logically. Okay. So here we've got the modal verb must. Must is obligation. So it's very similar to have to. And then mustn't is prohibition. So no drinking alcohol. Yes? Let's have a look. Yes, so basically, as it says here, must and have to are similar in meaning. So I must arrive on time. I have to arrive on time. It is true, in the grammar books, when you read, they will make a big difference between must and have to. And it's true, there is a little difference. But for now, just now, we'll say that it's very similar. Okay, that's okay. It's okay. All right, so then you've got mustn't and don't have to. They are very different in meaning because mustn't is mustn't is prohibition. So you mustn't, hit your arm. So it's prohibition, and don't have to is basically lack of obligation. So it's not necessary. Oh, difficult to explain. Let's look at some examples, okay? So here in these two sentences, one is correct and one is incorrect, okay? So which one is correct and which one is incorrect, okay? We're going to talk about a firefighter. A firefighter in the past was called a fireman. Now we say firefighter because sometimes it's men, and usually firefighters are men, but very occasionally, a firefighter might be a woman. So we say firefighter. Now you go and you fire, and you put out the fire. You stop the fire. Very, very important. People, especially in countries with a very hot climate, like here, every year we have fires in the forest, and so we need a lot of firefighters. And firefighting can be a very stressful, you're in a very, very stressful situation. Okay, so have a look at these two sentences. One is correct and one is incorrect. Okay, so here we are. We've got a firefighter mustn't panic in stressful situations, or a firefighter doesn't have to panic in stressful situations. What do you think? Yes. First one is correct. Mustn't. So it is prohibited to panic in stressful situations. A firefighter doesn't have to means it's not necessary to panic in stressful situations, but you can if you want. So no, it is not correct. Okay? All right. So let's have a look. Now I'm going to show you some other sentences, and you have to choose the correct sentence. Maybe one is correct, maybe two are correct, maybe they're wrong, incorrect. Have a look. So a plumber has to be quite strong, or a plumber must be quite strong. This one is correct. Yes, you have to be quite strong because you have to do all that with the pipes, so you have to be quite strong. And this is obligation, okay, and it's very similar, so it's fine. A plumber has to be quite strong, and a plumber must be quite strong. Okay, an architect doesn't have to work from 9 to 5. Yes, I think the hours of an architect are quite flexible, right? So they don't have to work from 9 to 5. In my experience, in fact, architects work from 7 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. It depends. It depends on the quantity, the amount of work that you have. Okay. And this other sentence, an architect mustn't work from 9 to 5? A prohibition? No, it's not right. It's not acceptable. Okay. So I think with the must and have to, and the mustn't and don't have to, you have to see them in context and notice them and think about them. Okay, so now what we're going to do now is I'm going to just very quickly give you some extra vocabulary related to work and employment. Okay, so have a look at this picture. There are some different words. I am going to describe a word, and you think, which word am I talking about? Okay, so for example, with this one, okay, this is a document you give to a company with information about your qualifications and information about your work history, your date of birth, your address, your experience, your skills. Okay, yes, it's a CV, a CV. Or in American English, they don't say CV, they say resume. If you look at the next slide here, can you see where it says send resume? It's a French word, that's why we say it like that. So in British English, we usually use the word CV, but in American English, they will refer to a CV, curriculum vitae, as a resume. Okay, but they're the same thing. Okay, so let's go back to, right, what about, so you send your CV and then they phone you, they contact you and say, do you want to come for an, yes, interview, for an interview. Okay, so you have you go for an interview. Now, during that process, you are not an employee of the company. What are you during that interview? Do you know? Have a look at the words. Have a look. Which way is it? This way? Have a look at the words. And which word? Yes, you are a candidate or a candidate. Candidate or candidate, it's the same. So you're a candidate during the interview. And then obviously, if you get the job, you then sign a contract, and you become an employee. Okay, and hopefully you have a very good career with the company. Okay. All right, so there's some extra vocabulary. Obviously, we could do lots and lots and lots more vocabulary, but in this course, later we will expand on some of what we have done today, so don't worry. All right. Now, what I want you to do for me as kind of homework, I want you to write a short paragraph with information. Okay, so let's have a look. What information in the paragraph? I want you to write a short paragraph and include information about your timetable. So if you work or if you study, it depends. Your information about your obligations. So for example, you can use must and have to, mustn't, don't have to. Think and write the truth. Remember, it's very, very, very important to write the truth. Okay, do you like your job? And if you, or your studies? And if you do, why? And if you don't, why not? Okay, so writing about this, writing about this will help to make the language more meaningful, okay, and more memorable, and it's very, very good for you, okay? I don't want to say it's very important because I always say that. Okay, so it's very significant. It's very interesting. Okay, so now I'm going to do for you a very quick example. All right? An example. So this is related to me, okay? So I'm a teacher. I work in education, mostly with adults or university students. Because I work in different places, it means that every day is different. I don't have to sit at a desk all day, and that for me is very important. I have to plan a lot of classes, and I have to listen to my students and really try to help them. I love my job because I meet so many different people and I really like helping people learn. And I learn new things with my students every day. That's, for me, that's the fantastic thing about working with young people, because my students are 20 years old, 21 years old, but there is always something new that they can tell me because they're a different generation, and it's very interesting, and they're very well, like you. I don't know how old you are. You don't have to tell me, but it's a very nice job. Okay, so now I will show you the text. All right, have a look at the text. Okay, I'll read it quickly for purposes of pronunciation. I'm a teacher. I work in education, mostly with adults or university students. Because I work in different places, it means that every day is different. I don't have to sit at a desk all day, and that for me is very important. I have to plan a lot of classes, and I have to listen to my students and really try to help them. I love my job because I meet so many different people, and I really like helping people learn. I learn new things with my students every day. Okay, right, so if you look again at the text, you can look at some language that was important that came up from this class. Okay, so here's some examples. I'm a teacher. I work in education. I don't have to sit at a desk all day. I have to plan a lot of classes and I have to listen to my students. And I love my job because, and then explain. So you can use this language when you write your paragraph, okay? You can write about you, or you can write about somebody in your family, but make it true, make it personal, okay? So that's it for today. Thank you very much. Oof, we did a lot in that class. Okay, just a reminder of what we did. So we did how to answer the question, what do you do? Vocabulary related to job as a profession. Use of have to, don't have to. Use of must, mustn't. And listening and understanding. So I hope you enjoyed that. Remember, if you are a subscriber, you can do the test at the end of the class to check that you've understood the whole content of the lesson. So thank you very much, and I will see you in lesson 8. Okay, bye.